water footprint of an individual is their consumption of fresh water within a specified time period. With an expanding population and a limited amount of fresh water, it is important to measure and research our water use in order to understand how our water is used and how we can control our water usage. Our goal with this water footprint project is to create a calculator to measure the water consumption of an average college student. We chose to determine an average per day footprint and considered direct and indirect sources.
Our water calculator measures daily water usage of an average college student by including water usage activities that he or she would engage in. We use an Excel spreadsheet which is straightforward, easy to use, and allows us to track which activities produce a higher water usage.
One of the categories of our water footprint calculator was electrical appliances. Producing electricity requires water, especially in electric plants that are powered by fossil fuels. The Virginia Water Resources Center reports that on average, it takes fossil-fueled power plants 95 liters of water to produce 1 kilowatt hour of electricity. We use this conversion factor to convert the electricity used by college students to their water footprint. First, we found the wattage of common appliances by consulting a table published by the U.S. Department of Energy. In our calculator, the user inputs the hours the appliance is used. The calculator then converts the wattage of that appliance to kilowatts, multiplies that number by the number of hours, then multiplies that number by 95 to obtain the liters of water used to supply electricity for that appliance. We found the wattages of common appliances such as TVs, computers, and mini refrigerators. Although we didn't have calculations for every appliance, our calculator covers most of the major sources of college electricity use.
Hygiene constants used in the calculator were found by taking the average output of 3 types of bathtub faucets, shower heads, toilet flushes, and sink faucets. Average times were researched and assumed for toothbrushing and hand washing so that users only needed to input frequency and not duration.
The food and drink water usage was determined by the amount of water used to produce each food. Foods that were chosen to be included within the calculator were determined by what the group thought was common amongst college students in various categories of diets, example, proteins, snacks, etc. The water usage per food and drink is calculated by the amount of servings one consumes. The constants for each food were found from this link.
We categorized activities into 3 categories: appliances, hygiene, and food and drink, which spans both direct and indirect water usage. For each activity, there is a column header describing the activities unit. For example, the water footprint of washing clothes can be measured in units of washing machine loads. We researched the average amount of water needed to run a load in a washing machine, which turned out to be 32.5 gallons. Our spreadsheet formula multiplies the number of loads by 32.5 gallons per load, and then by 3.79 liters per gallon to obtain a total water footprint in liters. The equations within each cell of the calculator spreadsheet is used by inputting the recorded values in the corresponding cell. After all of one's data is in the calculator, the bottom of each page contains a summation of each category's water consumption. From then on, one adds each of these quantities for a total average water usage for that day. For each calculation, we found an online source for the average water footprint for the activity per various units. For example, water use is calculated by determining the average flow rate of the shower. The user simply inputs the number of minutes spent showering and the frequency of showers per day.
Right now, I am recording my water footprint data. So right here I have what I have eaten, what I've done, like wash my hands, go to the bathroom, shower time, hair dryer use, stuff like that.
So you keep yours on paper?
Yeah, I'm old school. You gotta have a pencil and the paper and the data on the paper.
So it's Wednesday, the third day of our water footprint recordings, and it's actually been pretty hot outside, so I've needed to start drinking a lot of water. I started drinking some water while I was at school, and I think I'm going to continue the day drinking more. But just to make things easier, I started using a water bottle so I can more accurately record my water intake. So I have these water bottles at my house, like different varieties, and they just have the markings on them of how many ounces or milliliters they are, which is really helpful if I'm not drinking out of like a water bottle, a manufactured water bottle. I will take this, or if I'm not drinking fluids or I'm not drinking water, I'm drinking other fluids like tea, I would just bring this around with me and fill that up, and it makes it easier to record.
So it's day 3 of data collection, and I'm about to go out with friends for dinner. I have no idea what we're gonna eat, so that'll be interesting in terms of deciding what data to put in and what data to kind of estimate. I think we're gonna have ice cream, which is definitely not on the counter, so we'll see about that. I know my shower was definitely pretty long today. Grace, do you remember how long my shower was?
Your shower was probably like 40 minutes.
So yeah, 40 minutes is pretty bad. It's pretty wasteful, but you know, all things considered, we are in the Great Lakes. Maybe it'll balance out. Things are going pretty well. I slept a lot today. It's Saturday. So that probably took down my water consumption by a lot. Also, going back over the data that I collected during the week, I'm starting to realize that we did not factor in a lot of stuff. For example, I went out for Mediterranean food on Thursday, and lamb isn't on the counter. We thought we were being really thorough when we did 5 types of meat or proteins, but we weren't as thorough as we could have been. So looking back, that's kind of a reminder that in science, you may think you're being as thorough as possible, but there's always more variables to consider.
So good morning, it's Sunday, the last day that we are recording data for our water footprint project. Not only am I excited to not record like everything that I eat anymore, how many times I use the bathroom, I am really excited just to know what is my average gallons per day and my general water usage.
So our team also started to develop a survey for the use of commuters. The survey kind of went over different indirect uses of water, such as driving a car or the amount of time you spent at a job off campus.
We also asked just all participants in the project to answer these questions on the survey, just to get a general idea of their lifestyle, like how many times do you work out and what type of diet do you eat, just so we can get a sense of what influences your water intake, just like that.
By controlling for certain variables, we hope to get a fuller picture of the demographic that we're testing.
So to start off, we collected our data over a span of 1 week to get a larger sample size. So it was for our benefit, so we could get a better standardized average of what our daily water intake was, although our calculator could be used for daily use. And our findings were that the 2 off-campus students, which is myself and Gabrielle, reported a higher water usage and appliances than the other 2 students that were on campus, Janine and Yuyi. So we use about 4,000 liters per day, while they use almost half of that at 2,500 liters per day. And we believe that this is so because we had access to larger appliances like a full-size fridge, or we had more access to a dishwasher and a clothes washing machine. And so those things use more water since they are full-size things as opposed to, like a mini fridge. And that is probably why we use so much more water than they did, almost double.
Another thing that we found was that water use in the hygiene section varied greatly between students, as hygienic habits tend to vary amongst the whole population. The most noticeable difference in the water uses we found were in the shower use and toilet use. A 10-minute shower can use up to 95 liters of water, and the average toilet flush uses around 6 liters of water. As people shower and flush at greatly varying rates, the differences in hygiene habits in these two categories just had a great influence in the use of water per student.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I do not go to the bathroom that often. That definitely changed my hygiene numbers for my water usage, as opposed to maybe the rest of you guys who normally go to the bathroom more. And we cannot say that data is comparable for different genders, just because both me and Gabrielle were off campus, so we can't say that there's a difference in gender, really. We would have to have another factor, or a girl who lived on campus.
Or a guy who lived off campus.
Yeah, that too.
Water use in the food and drink section varied as diets vary amongst the general population. Particular foods require lots of water to produce. For example, an ounce of beef requires 400 liters of water, and 100 grams of chocolate requires an astounding 1,700 liters of water. Meats, animal products, and processed foods tend to require larger amounts of water to produce.
Our calculator efficiently calculates water use in hygiene. We got the hygiene equations by taking the average of 3 different types of faucets for the tub, for the sink, and for a shower head. Then we averaged those and multiplied that by the amount of time or frequency that the appliance was used. For household appliances, we didn't find the power use for every single household appliance, but we found some of the most common and harvested data from the Department of Energy in order to get power consumption data. Our calculations assume that every student, whether they're on campus or off campus, is using fossil fuels.
Our food category, however, was hardly suitable for the diverse choice of diets among college students. We determined the average water cost to produce foods and simply added up all the individuals for every food consumed to determine the water footprint. This process is tedious and not nearly comprehensive to account for all the foods in a diet. In our group, water footprint data wasn't available for half the foods we consumed, and so we simply ignored those foods in the calculations. Perhaps next time we would discard this method and instead compute an average water footprint for certain diets like meat-eating diets, vegetarians, or vegans, and this would have made the food section more simple and less tedious to use.
So in our calculator, we cover nearly all the direct water uses for a college student. Most of that is in the bathroom or if you're having like a beverage or something. We cover a major indirect source of the water footprint of electricity consumption also. And we collected data for many common electrical appliances. We did miss some subtle indirect uses, such as the water footprint of driving a car or the water footprint of manufactured items that you would use as a college student, water footprint of the massive amount of paper that we use. And these sources weren't really easily found on the internet or really any other form of research we had. We hadn't checked academic journals for water footprint information, so I mean, that could be a possible means for research in the future.
College students use a lot of water. The group members who were dorming, used about 2,000 liters a day. That's the day. Like, those who commuted, 3,000, 4,000 liters. This is a staggering amount. You know, a 12-minute shower uses around 100 liters of water. Making a pizza uses 1,200 liters of water. I mean, I shower a lot. I eat a lot of pizza.
Alright, so during this water project, I had the hypothesis going in that I would use a lot of water, and the project pretty much just confirmed that, yeah, I do use a lot of water, especially the showers. I think that's what killed me.
Well, one thing I learned from doing this water footprint project is that there is so much more water than I ever would have imagined that goes into the production of everything I use and everything I eat and drink. It's huge component of that is water. Whether it's like the books I use in school, or whether it's like the clothes I'm wearing right now, save the bats, or whether it's something I eat, like the burger I had for lunch. Apparently that had like 400 gallons of water went into the production. That just blows my mind to think that we are here just taking all of this for granted, and then there's other places in the world, like here locally, and then like in every corner of the world there's poverty. And the fact that we take all that water use for granted when some places don't even have water or food, it blows my mind. It makes me think that there has to be a better way that we work as people to better allocate our water and use it way wiser.
The Water Footprint Project for me was more informational, and it made me more self-aware of my impact on our water, fresh water storage. Before, I really wasn't conscious of what water went into my day and how much water I used and how it impacted my life. Really, it's inclusive of everything that I am included in, like what car I drive, the production to make that car, things that I eat, just daily activities and how that influences my water intake as well. And now, since I'm more conscious of those things, I'm able to impact the water usage that I have in a more positive way. So I'm more aware of how long I take showers, and I'm more aware that there's so much water that goes into making gas and refining gas, and how much it takes to make a car, really. And I have a car, I don't live on campus, so it's a lot of water, and it really separates me from my fellow students that live on campus. But yeah, it's just very enriching information.